Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Varik.Verilion, and today we are going to be streaming about why people do not see what's happening beneath the surface. Because what's happening is like how systems interact. So, for example, you see a guy sleep deprived. You see a mom that is beating her child. You see an economy that is collapsing. You see like whatever you may see. You may see like how people are committing suicide. You may see how drug addiction is rising. You may see how successful people become successful, or you know, you may see a lot of stuff, but there's something that's happening beneath this lot of stuff. And I just need to real quick check if I am live. And I definitely am live. Right. Stream health is excellent. Stream settings are great. Yeah, we are live. Right. Yes, sir. So we are live. So everything's perfectly fine. So yeah. So it's time to let's do some a little bit of stretching. Ah. Today we'll be going with this book called Thinking in Systems, and it's actually a really awesome book that you can have, you know. And there's dogs. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, we are back to work. Stream health, stream settings. Yeah. Today I'm actually streaming differently. Like in the past, I just used to link the account, but today I'm using StreamKey. So, you know, it's kind of different than the normal stuff. So that's what there is. Yes. Let's see if someone joins or not, right? So here on your screen now, it's time to actually get back to some real stuff, right? And get it going. So here on your screen, you should be able to see something. This is what we actually discussed in the previous streams about how systems actually have stocks and inflow and outflow, and how those systems interact, how systems mutate and evolve and change over time, and a lot of different kind of stuff that we did discuss in the past, right? And it's a really like a beautiful way to understand. It's like I also explained like how when you have like this is the energy in the body, and how body is constantly trying to maintain an inflow and outflow, and how that maintaining inflow and outflow in itself becomes so intricate. Let's say for example you have certain amount of energy in your body which would be considered stock. Everything in the universe would be considered a stock, right? Considered, it's not literally a stock. We would consider it as a stock, and then because so that we can actually start seeing feedback loops, right? I did explain what feedback loops are, right, and all different kind of stuff. So we did also got that, right? So yeah, but now let's get started with the book. So today I have literally nothing more to explain, because in the last three sessions I did explain the starting part of the book to the page 50, and it took about a couple hours to actually explain that kind of stuff from scratch, right? So but now I think it's kind of dumb. Check out the past streams if you do want to know about some stuff, because then you can understand. It's about like how we actually understood what's happening in Japan, how we actually understood how room temperature maintains itself. We actually understood how muscles growth happens. Like we actually understood how attention span ruins, even though we were not able to model multiple feedback loops simultaneously, like I told you, because the book still hasn't introduced us to that, right? We also kind of like try to model the attention span and how that functions, right? So there was a lot of things that we did here on this, and there were like a lot of stuff that we read and revised. But yeah, so actually today is day 4, and for some reason my coding interface is open. I didn't realize that. Let me just shift that, and today is day 4, right? So today's day 4, concept integrated 1, systems feedback loops. Yeah, today we are in the feedback loops, and we would be modeling that on graph, right? So I think we have made the meaningful updates that we needed to make, right? So it's time to get into the ship. Let's go. Yeah. Dynamic system studies usually are not designed to predict what will happen. Rather, they're designed to explore what will happen if a number of driving factors unfold in a range of different ways. The second question, whether the system really will react this way, is more scientific. It is the question about how good the model is. the dynamic of the system, regardless of whether you think the driving factor will do that, will the system behave like that if they did, right? Systems dynamic model explore possible features and ask what if questions. Actually, what I do realize right now that I need execution above all. Like these days, I'm like actually asking myself, should I code or not? Should I do this or not? I've already created schedule. I've already created everything. I just need to execute it blindly. This is what I do realize, because what happens is like I'm streaming, right? And again, we are gonna understand in the lens of feedback. I'm streaming and nothing is changing, right? I stream. There's no one that joins. For, like I've streamed for about 5 streams, like on 2 different channels, 3 on this one, and I've been consistently doing them for the last 5 days. And there's literally no views. There's literally no one coming. So your brain starts to go on, or shall we stream or not? Because like there's more feedback. So feedback is like changes. It sucks. So like there's a patience. There's something that I want to change, right? I need a social feedback. That's my brain is actually seeking for. It wants some social reality to happen, and when it doesn't happen, that means stock takes just too much time to change, and this is what we call delay. And because of delay, I stop doing the thing. I mean, I do know that if I did stream, let's say 50 more streams or something, there's still gonna be some people there, and if I actually create a YouTube channel and content there that are actually entertaining, I can funnel that into stream. But as you can see here, we also have a problem, is that how a normal humans come and starts doing a certain specific things, but they're not doing that, not able to do that certain specific thing, because stock is just taking too much time to change. Delays are there, and it's intolerable to the nervous system to actually tackle on that much delay. It's like going to gym for about a month or something and seeing that you build no muscle. It's about going or playing football for about a month and then seeing no improvement at all. And what happens is you generally quit, because the changes that are happening slow, and the stock that's accumulating is accumulating so slow that you think it's pointless. See what I'm trying to say? But we can't have that, right? We just can't. We just need to push it through. Even like we just need to push it through, right? I mean, because you do all that, right? You speak a lot. Like I speak the entire time, and because I have a hard time speaking, but I'm getting used to speaking more and more when I'm on stream, which is a good thing actually. And I'm consuming more and more water for some reason when I'm streaming, like a lot amount of water. But the system will react this way. The more sign we got that in the population scenario above, however. The answer to this question is roughly a distinguished age group, for example, but basically a real population would growing under the condition. I just on my noise cancellation and setting my phone to do not disturb, because I really don't want to be disturbed when I'm in the zone, right? But basically, this model responds the way real, like, yeah. Okay, so what are the driving factors? That means what is like, okay, unlikely to likely to fall this way. If they did, what system would the system react this way? What is driving the driving factors? Right. So we have driving factors for everything. For example, let's just take health. What are the driving factors that influences health? And as soon as we ask that question, we are like, because now we are not saying, okay, X increase or improves health, like cold plunges or something like that improves health. What we're pretty much saying is like, what are the driving factors? What are the kings? And then you'll say, okay, it's sleep, it's nutrition, right? It's social exposure. Lonely people actually have a lot of problems, and what else? So we have these like what I should say driving factors, but these driving factors are like what influences an outcome in a system. All right. So in education, what are the driving? What is influencing your behavior? If you were to say, it's teachers, it's routine that those teachers build, it's the grades, it's the reinforcement from the family, community, and the society. It's like that is driving you to think that education is one of the most important thing out there, and if you do not get a good degree, you will never get a job, you'll become useless, and blah blah blah. And it's companies that actually think that the degrees have some values proportional, right, to like to the university that a child is coming from or something like that. So that is another thing. So you have a system where all of these people value these kind of stuff. So even if you do not value, you still have to be value that, because you will be valued according to that matrix or according to that. common idea or belief, right? That's kind of true. So we have driving factors, and what is driving the driving factors? Okay, why is it the civilization came to value education so much? Why is it? Because education reduces uncertainty, and brain is a prediction model that is constantly trying to reduce uncertainty neuroscientifically by using active inference. So what do you mean by uncertainty? Uncertainty pretty much is the concept that comes from neuroscience that says, okay, this entirety of the world, and it's so complex, so your brain is trying to reduce uncertainty about it. That means it tries to model the world. Education is one of the most efficient way to model the world. That's why education has been persisted. That's why the even and humans are status seeking creature. Another thing that is driving the driving factors, the reason why degrees matter so much is that we need a matrix to know, okay, which ape is superior and which ape is inferior, which ape or which primate is more useful and which primate is less useful, or something like that. Yeah. And I would like to make a small addition because my though I do not want my desktop output to be recorded because this is just for me. Right. Because you see my family is just waking up downstairs, so they're kind of like communicating and like, different stuff like that. That is kind of not good for me. Oh, by the way, my noise website is one of the best website out there. Like no sponsorship here, but it's really awesome. Like when it comes to yeah, now I feel that calm. This one's is dedicated for meditation, but I never use it for meditation. I use it for study. It just calms you down and it just tells you to like, take a breath in and take just, that everything's gonna be alright. And I like a specific version of it. Fine. So this is the specific version of it that I like and that I think is the best. You can have like you can like you have presets here too. This is one of the best websites for studying and different things like that, and it's far better than different websites that are out there, right? But I'm still gonna decrease levels some slightly in this preset because I do want to hear my own voice and what I'm saying too simultaneously. So yeah, so I think we've got this. Let's just minimize that, and it's not catching that; it's just catching my audio, so you cannot hear the music, right? But if you do want to hear, you can hear it to some degree, right? Yeah. So it will be a slight noise in the background, but I think it's better to just kind of like remove it and not let you guys hear it, right? Okay. So what are the driving factors? What is driving the driving factors? Yeah. Right? So we were at that question, and like I told you, the very reason education become the way it is because humans just happen to be a creature that uses uncertainty. If humans were creature, they used to prioritize food too much or something, or maybe an insect like you have cockroaches and they have different priority. That's why they act the way they do. You have lions, they act differently. You have all these different kind of species that act differently because they have different driving factors that drive their behavior, right? uh Bring another condition when a real population would go. Having scenario are realistic since no one can know that for sure. Remember all of the basic behavior pattern. You cannot model. Behavior pattern is realistic. Now, here's the distinction that Donella is making, if you can understand. What she's trying to say, a model utility does not depend whether its driving factor scenario are realistic. So, for example, even if it's slightly off, that means even if you do not know the number, even if you don't know, it's like, but on whether it responds with a realistic pattern of behavior. So for example, even if you do not know how much someone is obsessed with modeling reality and reducing uncertainty, like I can know for sure that I am pretty much like more into reducing uncertainty compared to other people and building a good model of reality. But it's like even then I can pretty much predict the behavior that if a human is exposed with uncertainty, they will try to reduce it, right? And this is where the uncertainty principle comes from Carl Fiston's, right? From free energy principle. So from that, we can actually deduce the behavior that human will seek education and knowledge. That's why YouTube Shorts exploded with informational facts. Even though majority of the facts that the people talk about on YouTube Short is useless, you can know realistically that if new information arrives and people see that they do not know much about it, they'll try to grasp it and understand it, and especially if they have, especially if there's relevance to their lives, right? And how this connects to YouTube too. On people on YouTube constantly care about like yeah, what's important for them rather than what's important for you. So humans are self-centered too, right? They do not care about what the random stranger is thinking, like a next street or something. They just care about what they should do the next hour, right? What is driving the driving factor? This is the most important thing. What is adjusting the inflows and outflows? This is a question about system boundary. It requires a hard look at those driving factors to see if they're actually independent or they're just embedded in the system. If there anything about the size of population, for instance, that might feed back to influence fertility or morality? Do other factors, economics, the environment, social trends, influence fertility and morality? Driving factors. Like yeah, like if raising a kid is too expensive, then people are not gonna have birth. That happened in Japan. The environment, the social trends, yeah, like it's different culture that have different, like different, because if you have a high mortality rate among kids, let's say you live in a harm environment where there's lack of water, and maybe the environment is a forest and there's a lot of animals, and so if chances of disease are extremely high, then if the environment doesn't support many, like if majority of the kids that you give birth to die, let's say you give birth to 7 kids and 5 of them died, then means environment forces you to have more reproduction, right? So that increases morality rate and fertility rate both simultaneously, because the more the kids, the more they'll die. But once again, because that's how harsh the environment, but some of them would survive, the chance of survival would increase more too. So yeah, and then you have social trends. It's like yeah, and now let's say even if the forest isn't harmful, let's say about 100 years ago, because you guys used to live in a forest, you have a tendency to have 6 or 7 kids. So even if you move to a different forest, which is technically a lot safer, you still have 6 or 7 kids, which explodes the fertility rate non-linearly. So we have a lot of different factors that actually affects fertility and morality. But now you'll say, okay, Varik, is does this concept only applies to fertility and morality and like population? And I'm like, no, this applies to business, economics, everywhere, right? So for example, you live in an environment where there's education is not supported. You live in a backward environment, so your chances of actually educating yourself is really low, because yeah, and then you educate yourself really low, so in future it becomes a social trend. So even if you have a kid, you're not going to make them study much, because that's what you got from your environment in the past, right? And economics too, if you do not have the money to like raise a child, so like or send them to a good education, most probably their environment will teach them that education is not that important, because you're sending them to a trash school. So it's like how you can have multiple links that's going on here, right, guys? Does the size of population affect those economic and environmental and social factors? And now he's talking, now she, like if A causes B, like here's the thing, guys. Like causality is circle. So if you were to say, if let's say X causes CAU causes Y, right? So this is X, right? And then we can have like a five. Wait a sec. Let me just come closer to my. And then you can have like, so X is causing Y, right? X is causing Y. So because of X, Y is happening, right? So it's like A causes B. Yeah, we can just change the variables. So now if A causes B, right? So here's where it gets interesting. For example, if we're living in an environment leads you to, like if we're living in an environment causes you to be uneducated, right? It's like environment is calling education, right? So how uneducation in itself respond to that environment. So now this is where it's get interesting, guys, because like here, think about it. If you were born in a stupid family, right? That means you made stupid decision, which made your environment worse, right? So for example, it's like you were born in an environment, let's say, where people with their fight and all that, so you become like them, which is A causes B. So let's say A here would be most probably like your environment, if that spelling is right. Most probably it is. And B were like your, like, like, let's say your personality, or let's say your educational level, right? Education and different stuff. It could be anything. It could be literally anything. It could be applied to, like, companies in everywhere. So it's like, if A causes B, then how B causes A. So if you live in an environment where there's no education, that means anything related to education, like buying books, like, you wouldn't. So since the environment had no education, the B would never buy a single book in the entire lifetime, would never read anything, right? So it's like, you would never, if you go back to the home, you'll never find a book, right? You'll never find a laptop with a PDF. You'll never find. So what you'll find is like comedy jokes on their Instagram reels, or on YouTube shorts, and and on TikTok. So if you can see, it's like how their environment made them dumb, not literally dumb, but less educated, and how that less educated make more decisions because they never knew education was important. So whenever it comes to like anything else, they never actually focused on education. So they kind of like, got into YouTube and different, like, maybe masturbation, maybe porn, maybe cigarettes, maybe drugs, right? And that causes them to further drift away from education, which could have actually built a real leverage in the future, right? So now you can see this is a down spiral of poverty, right? Like, we've seen this happen again and again in poverty environment, right? And now, even if you want to change, for the last 15 or 18 years, you have built a neuroplasticity of not doing hard tasks when it comes to mental tasks. So your brain is now used to cognitive load that a child gets from as early as 3-year-old, because we are able to study 8 or 9 hours a day because we have been studying since early childhood, and it's better for us, and we have the power to actually achieve that, right? But they won't be able to do that. So studying just 1 hour a day would feel like a lot much, and then they will start thinking, oh, I am dumb, I cannot study, like, 8 hours a day, right? So it's like how environment once again forces this identity, which is like, I'm dumb, but you're not dumb. It will just take you about 5 years or 6 years to actually get into the ability to study 2 or 3 hours. And if you just eat, have a good sleep and a good diet, you can do it faster. So like, yeah, and then environment, it's like if they have a good sleep and a good diet, then it influences their learning too, and neuroplasticity, because like good sleep and good diet improves neuroplasticity, and sports and physical activities too. But let's say if they do not do any physical activity, they do not have a good sleep, and they do not have a good diet, that means they have trash inputs. So if they're, once again, their outputs influences education, but that trash input doesn't just necessarily influences education, it influences life, right? And how that life that is got influenced by environment goes on to influence the environment once again, right? So it's like a how A causes B, but then you have to see how B causes A, right? Yeah. And this is what happens in mortality rate that we understood at the start, right? If the environment forces, like, I can just change this here. All right. Environment to, let's just say, kids, right? Or mortality, or sorry, fertility rates. Control Z. Fertility. So you were born in an environment where there was a lot amount of food available, where there were not many predators, and the area was relatively safe to live in, right? So since you live in that kind of environment, what happens is like fertility rates rises, and those fertility rates feedbacks into the environment, right? So because of the environment, fertility rates rises, and then what happens, because there's more people, you start to like have a huge amount of population because you were in a safe area. So even if you move on to an area where there's a lot of predators, you still persist and you can actually kill a lot of predators. And now you'll say, why is that and how is that? And I'll say, because now you have a group of more than 200 or 500 people, a tribe, we are saying, we are not thinking in terms of country right now, right? You have like you have a group of 500 people per se, let's say, and those 500 people are strong enough to actually kill, for real, like a group of lions, because you cannot do that with 50 people, with a tribe of 50 to 100 people. With this 500 people, so you can definitely get a lot more food, get a lot more woods, get a lot of more water, get a lot more Like, so now when you have more numbers, you have more redundancy. That means, like, there's not, it's example in type of 50 people, right? Let's say in the environment doesn't support a lot of people, so you just only have 50 people, and out of those 50 people, there's 2 or 3 peoples that are actually collecting water, right? Or maybe there's just one person that is actually collecting water every day for everyone else. Now that one person is sick, what happens? System collapses. But in a tribe of 50 people, 50 people are collecting water for you. If not 50, 10 people. So even if 1 or 2 people are actually tired or get exhausted or get sick, other people can just work hard more, and they can wait for them to recover and come back. And then for a couple of days when they have recovered, they will actually, like, work hard for other people. So it's like, this is a redundant system. Redundant system, I means, like, it has a lot more optionality and a lot more ability to persist. So now that what does that is, because the food, like, water supply is good, that means water supply, and same goes for the food supply, because there's more people in the food. Same goes for the fire supply, the clothes supply, the person who cook, the person who actually creates clothes. So you have better clothes, you have everything better. So more the people there are, the more the variety and the things you can have. So even if, like, in bigger systems, even if like 1 or 2 people collapses, think as a civilizational small scale civilization system, right? Even if 1 or 2 nodes of the system collapses, nothing much happens because more people are there. But in a small system of 50 people, if a couple of people collapses, the, like, let's say there's a lion and lion kills just about 3 or 4 people, now the entire system is fucked. See what I'm trying to say? Uh-huh. So it's like, environment increases fertility rate. Because of increased fertility rate, environment becomes safe. Safe environment increase more fertility rate. More fertility rate goes on to make environment even safer. See what I'm saying? Of course, the answer of all these questions is yes. Fertility in malady is governed by feedback loops too. At least some of these feedback loops are themselves effective. This population is only one piece larger of the system. One important piece of large system population is economy. At the heart of economy is another reinforce plus balancing loop system that kind of structures with the same kind of behavior as a population. So you have depreciation. What is depreciation? I think this is an economic term, right? And I do not have to do anything with commerce or something like that. So we would have to. Oh, depreciation is a systematic allocation of and process of time, meaning the value of asset due to users eating a technology. Depreciation is like what doesn't survive over time. Let me just come back in a sec because I really want to pee. Guys, I'll just come back in a sec. And I'll just mute this boy here. So guys, I'm back. All right. Yeah. So I think we took a break about 1 minute 40 seconds. All right. Yeah. So like we were talking about deprecation, right? So the val like how things get you know intangible, the cost of tangible and intangible assets of useful life reflecting retail obsolete and passive. Like, yeah, we have NFT too. I think NFT is our losing in value. Let me just check it out. Like, the over time, how things actually tend to lose value. I mean, that's what we are representing here, I suppose. So it's like, let me just ChatGPT. There's this thing called deprecation, right? That means like how there's some things that over time lose value, like and like whether that's tangible or intangible thing, like they use life via tear down becomes obsolete or with the passage of time or something. Like, could you tell me like NFT? What happened with NFTs? Like, I think they were at one time when they were at the peak, right? So it's like how over time, and what were the driving factors? And could you tell me what were the driving factors that caused the hype or the rise of NFTs and their fallout? So if you do not know NFTs are these pictures that people used to buy in the past. If you would know, you would know. Everyone knows about them to some degree. But NFT is like non fungible token. So you have like a list of pictures that used to like skyrocket in price. So people used to buy pictures, right? This ape, if you have seen it, like, yeah, the boat ape, and this in itself was like a like skyrocket in price, and then you can actually have like trade. So it's like an online asset that you can buy, right? And what is actually causing the rise of the NFT, and what is actually causing the fallout? So when you like, yeah, something loses value over time because of wear, age, competition, obsolete. A car deprecates, a old technology deprecates, sometimes even skill deprecates if they become obsolete. NFTs are an interesting case because they didn't just deprecate. Speculative bubble. What NFT? Yeah, the NFTs exploded on a blockchain. Easy money, interest rates were extremely low, people had extra cash. Next big thing, crypto wealth. Many people made fortunes from crypto. They wanted somewhere to spend invest. Luxury watches except online. Oh my gosh. Art gaming. Why NFT? The problem was that most NFT prices weren't tied to actual utility. Actually worth. Collapse. This is the dot-com bubble, the housing bubble, the meme stock frenzies. The value of an asset usually depends from one of these. If you have something that doesn't have value in itself, even if a lot of people is buying, that's why. Okay, so we have bitcoins. Bitcoins have values because no government can track them. That's why bitcoins always have value in it. So as long as it's something, it generates money. Bitcoins doesn't necessarily generate money. It's a way to transition. Like how scarcity is that generally limited, but scarcity doesn't mean shit if it doesn't have utility, right? Or if it can't generate cash flow. Network effects, many people's social status. People want it. Oh yeah, social status is another people. So NFTs exploded in this part. But even if you kind of like go with the problem with NFTs is like I do not know much about NFTs and I've done no research. I'm not. We are actually looking at this terms of systems thinking. That's all we are doing right now, right? Yeah, guys. So yeah, a house can be shelter you during a crash. A business can still generate cash during a class. A skill can still help you on during a crash. The points about assets whose values came mainly from future expended tends to be fragile. Assets whose values come from present utility tend to be resilient. So if you have an asset which you expect would be valuable in the future, is not okay. The point to the broader principle, when a collectively few, the value evaporated. So people believed, okay, a house can still shelter you during a crash. A business can still generate you during. The link to a blockchain entry becomes much harder to justify when enthusiasm disappeared. Ha! Didn't fall because the technology was important. They largely collapsed because the expectation grew faster than the real utility. When reality and narrative drive far enough, prices snap back towards reality. I see. Damn. So there were a factor like why like the prices of NFT rose, but then there was another factor why it fall. So you have like yeah. So we are here on like yeah. So now I understand deprecation the word. So you have investment okay, which improves the capital stock deprecation over time. So for example, this mic is right now an investment. Okay, that was bad on your ears. I know that. Sorry. So this mic, I just felt the urge to do it. So this mic right now is like the investment, the keyboard, the mouse, the laptop, and they had utility, right? And I'm using that utility. Even the PDF that I've opened up, the Obsidian has in itself a lot of utility, right, guys? So it's a utility and it's a deprecation via tier, but the Obsidian is not going to get deprecated, even though I do believe this mic is over time. Let's say in the next 5 or 10 years, it's going to be like deprecated because it will lose its value because there's just something better out there for a cheaper price, right? And same goes for this laptop. Same goes for like yeah, a lot of different stuff here. So like yeah, and the reason why this mic would become obsolete is because like the value of metal over time in production is decreasing. The value of production itself is decreasing, right? And technology in itself is improving. So it's most likely that the value of this mic over the 5 year would continuously gonna keep on decreasing. You see what I'm trying to say, right? Same goes for this laptop, right? This laptop is already, I don't know, like I bought it after 10, so it's already 3 years old, right? So like yeah, so it's already 3 years old or something. So I think it would get really really old after 5 or 6 years. After that point, I would just have to shift. I mean, like yeah, so it's like the lifespan of this laptop is about not exactly 80 years because I will buy a new one earlier, but about 6 years. And at that time, it was a really good, consider a good laptop when I bought it. So it's price, the deprecation, like the like the loss of value is gonna happen a lot slowly. And what are the driving factors that are causing the loss of value of the laptop? You already know it. Improvement in technology, improvement in production quality, improvement or more competition in the market, which improves technological advancement. So there's a lot of factors that is actually, so because of these factors, the value of the laptop is constantly keep on falling. But let's say you bomb Taiwan, that is the one place that produce all of the chips and all of the different, like the circuitries and transistors that these laptop contains. What happens then? The price of a laptop would increase because no company would be able to produce laptop anymore. So whatever the laptop that are circulating in the market, the price of those laptops would explode. Literally it. Change the conditions and laptop's future and its value changes, right? Same goes for the mic. Same goes for any electric thing. So the price of everything would like go too much. Like yeah, this links to like yeah everything. That's why system thinking is the best. It links to like muscles, biology, everything. So you have investment, you have capital stock that increase, you have depreciation, like value decreasing over time. So you have the annual output. So what investment produces. So this is what my our best friend Donald is talking about. The annual output increases. So that annual output goes back as investment, like output by unit capital, right? So and then you have like a capital stock that goes capital lifetime. So for a company to grow, the investment should generate more annual output than depreciation. Literally it. That's how companies grow. If you create a factory and if the factory is obsolete by the end of the year, then what the fuck is happening? It should be absolute by the end of the decade or by the end of 20 years or something. And technically, yeah, that's how long it takes for the factory. It takes 20 to 30 years. It's not a phone or a laptop. It takes a lot of time for factories to get obsolete. And over time, people just keep on updating that like thing. So for 10 or 20 years, you can get investment, you can get a lot of money return, and then you update it. You do not even have to, because property never get obsolete. You still need space. You still the walls never gets obsolete, even for like the next 100 years. You just need the equipment to change, right? So this is how like these companies survive because the profit is more than the depreciation. But depreciation in itself stabilize the capital stock. So from stabilizing, I mean, like stabilizing loops are some really good at, like, when it comes to biology, but when you have a stabilizing loop associated to capital, you don't want that. You want your capital to grow exponentially. Low in biological system, you do not want your neurons to grow exponentially, because that would just create a lot of energy depth, and you're gonna collapse. You do not want your muscle to grow exponentially, because let's say your muscle is like the size of this, like what the fuck, you would need to eat more and more. Like, if your digestive system grow too much, you will just get too fat. So you do not want runaway feedback loops in biological systems, but in capital, especially when it comes to capital and businesses, you do want runaway loops to going on, because you do want the capital stock to increase non-linearly exponentially, right? uh the greater the stock of the physical capital, the machine in the factory, in the economy, and the efficiency of the production output per unit capital, more the more can be invested to make new capital. This is a reinforced like birth loop of population. And the reason why this loops constantly keep on getting stronger and stronger, guys, is because, let's say, even if you have like the more output that is produced, even if you have like, like if the population is not rising, that means the demand is not rising. If the demand is not rising, that means the more production doesn't mean anything. So let's say if you're producing 200,000 t-shirts, you would need 200,000 people to wear it. That means if the population is like increasing, not linearly, like a reinforcing loop, like, runaway reinforcing loop, that's good. Only then the production would increase to catch up with it. But if if the birth rates are not increasing as fast as the production is increasing, then yeah, you would need to cap out production. That means you need to cap out gains. That's the thing. The investment fraction is equivalent to the fertility. And we have seen decline in population. Less and less births are happening over time. So like companies would have a harder time to find a profit. That means more old age people are actually growing, like, because the population is decreasing, especially in countries like Japan. If you have heard the latest news, like they literally had to like do a lot of crazy shit to just make people have sex and have birth. So what they find out is like so if people are actually growing older and they're not having kids, that means if I create company right now, let's say, which is like a which actually take care of old people and their health and a lot of stuff, because the amount of old people by the time we reach old, like let's say 20 years in the future, would increase because the birth rates are decreasing right now. And if I create the company in the future, the company and the and the value of the company would increase non-linearly, because old people are increasing non-linearly because these people are not having young kids. You see what I'm saying, right? And we need old people to work in economy so the economies persist longer. So we need companies that can actually take care of old people and their health and teach them how to actually, so that economy would grow by itself. And different economies like that targets young people, that we have AI girlfriends and different things like that coming up in this and a lot of YouTube and Instagram, that would decrease because a lot of people who produce content in these platforms are young generation, right? So that's why focusing on the old generation will lead to more profit. It's because how systems are changing. Population is changing. That's mean profits themselves are changing, and because market is changing. So you have like you know you have like a population which determines what markets are like actually going to increase or decrease. So you have um okay, wait a sec. You have population, right? And how population reinforces markets, because like on what kind of like population, so not exactly population increase and the age of population, there's multiple factors related to that thing, guys. So if you were to just like population, and let me just so there's age, what age is dominant in the population, and there's like number of it, so amount. So let's just call it age and amount. So these, according to these factors, you can say, okay, what market is gonna rise and what market is gonna fall. So how is like, because yeah, so you have like a market. So market. So like either the markets were increased, like let's say, so market is like, yeah, or either the markets would, so how population and age amount influences market, and now how markets like influences population and back. So now markets are more old age dependent or taking care of people. So if young people, so what happens, like there's no economy like that is targeting young people, Right. So now what happens? You have this problem. So now it's even harder to actually, because there's like less money for childcare and more money for old age care. So now it's even harder to have kids and actually raise them. So it's like how markets goes on to change population, right? So it's like, yeah, because companies are focusing more on yeah. I'm pushing myself to my limits right now. I just know, like, I just really want to end the stream. And I'll say, okay, Varik, why do you want to end your own stream? And I'm like, the reason is learn how to customize. Okay, the bot is running. Right, how long? We have been streaming for 45 minutes. Right, and it's just that I feel tired. I don't know, like, my sleep cycle is fucked. But today, like for the today, I slept about 8 hours, 8.5 hours. So like it's finally getting better now. But I think it will take about a week to recover from the damages that I've incurred. Oh man, the investment faction is equivalent to fertility. And I do know on 13 I'm going outside, so that would cause another problem, guys, for me because right now, like, I have to go for to a relative. So 13 and 14, my sleep schedule will once again be fixed because here's the thing, guys. I'm Here's a system problem that's happening with me. My environment is constantly forcing me to sleep late and wake up early. That means my environment constantly force if you were to take like how my environment is constantly forcing sleep. Like, so my parents, okay, my mom and dad are sleep 7 hours a day, right? But I have a girlfriend that is free at 11, right? So she and I talk 11 to like, yeah, and it takes 1 p, like, 1 a.m. or something. So she's in the environment to actually end the call, or maybe sometimes it goes on for 3 a.m. and that's when it fucks you over. That's why I quit talking to her late at nights. In the past, I used to do that, right? But here's the thing: this is how environment is disrupting my sleep cycle. That is involves my girlfriend, and no hate to her. I love her, but yeah, you can see. So it's like you have environment that causes keeps your sleep like and then I have parents that wakes up early, to somewhere between they slept at 11:30 like p.m. And wakes up at 7 a.m. or something, 7 to 7:30. Right. So they want me to wake up early because breakfast is early because I need to stream and because I need to actually learn a lot of stuff and do and gym. And gym forces recovery requirements. That means I should sleep longer than like a normal person because there's gym, there's like 4 or 5 hours of studying, there's YouTube content that I'm actually learning about. So all of that pushes me to sleep 8 hours a day. Right. But then I have conditions and environment that because I need to wake up early because of the parents, and then I need to like sleep. But I still did that. I still waked up early. I still got the 8 amount of hours of sleep. But then fucking something happened. And that was gym. And here's the thing. And now you'll say, okay, Varek, what do you mean by gym? And what I mean, my friend, is that over time, I used to consume 2,100 calories to 1,800 to 2,100 calories. That was my diet just about 2 months ago. Right now, I consume 3,000 calories. And there's one thing you will realize: the more the food that you consume, the more the body temperature increases, and the more the sleep cycle shifts. See what I'm saying? To sustain all this, I had to increase my diet, which shifted the sleep cycle. So now I'm waking up by myself at early as 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and I'm like, what's happening to me? And I'm fucked because I can only talk to my girlfriend at night, right? Because that's when she is free majority of the time. So like I need to, and I only can sleep earlier now because of the gym and all the things that I sustain, and I need recovery, right? So I need to shift it even earlier. Let's say as early as 11 or 10. But my family sleeps somewhere around 11 to 12. So I'm sleeping earlier than my family, sleeping way earlier than my girlfriend, and needs to wake up early. So now I'm waking up earlier than my parents. Oh my gosh, because they wake up at 7:30. So at the start, it was just so that's how my sleep schedule got fucked. At what it got fucked up because of the girlfriend and the parents, but then again, I actually just told my parents that I'm gonna wake up late because of certain things. So I ended up waking later. But now I cannot blame any of them and I cannot resist any of them because now there's something that I'm doing that's forcing my sleep schedule to get earlier and earlier and earlier. And the thing is, I only know about this because I read it inside a book, like on why we sleep. Damn, that's why I know that it's because of gym. I could have thought, oh, maybe by maybe my body is not working optimally or functionally, but then I realized, oh, it's fucking body temperature, and that's why I need to use AC at cooler temperature to be. Yeah. And this pretty much gives you an example, guys, of how environment influences you consistently. My parents influenced my wake time, my girlfriend influenced my sleep time, and then Jim fucking said, fuck you both. I'm gonna influence. But it's all right. I mean, my wake time is kind of slightly in alignment with my parents. I just wake up on 1 hour early, like so it's just 1 hour earlier, so it's nothing much. I can just go downstairs and get my half of the breakfast that I can create by myself, and after the rest of it is created by mom. So I can just create half of them, come back upstairs, start the stream, learn the stuff, and after that I can go downstairs and get the remaining breakfast and go back to stream. It's just like a 10-minute description, right? Like or 10-minute break or something. But when it comes to my girlfriend, I don't know what to do with her anymore. I mean, yeah, I'm just not talking for the last 3 days now. Like I just don't know what to do because I know as soon as I talk to her, we're gonna talk for 3 hours, and then my sleep is once again fucked, and it's already fucked. I'm finally able to improve it. I just don't know anything. But I'm gonna force her to talk in afternoon or something. And yeah, she's a good girl. She'll just understand. But yeah, the investment fraction is equivalent to fertility. The greater the fraction of, but then again, there's incentives. Now, once again, environment come into the play a role. Now you'll say, okay, why? She is more vulnerable and honest and kind of tender at night compared to the afternoon, and more in the romantic vibes at night compared to afternoons. It's more pleasurable to talk at night than in afternoon. Like this is how environment is constantly influencing my sleep, and now a bad sleep decreases impulse, like now, what happens because of bad sleep? Bad sleep actually decreases your ability to function optimally because you have less energy. Less energy means less activity in prefrontal cortex, or like default mode network, and so your brain would not be able. There's some more activity in default mode network, so your brain would not be override its instincts or desire um, to actually chase novelty and pleasure, right? So less sleep actually decreases control on impulses. Decrease in control on impulses would decrease, like increases the chance of me talking to her late at night, and I'm like, yeah, so I won't be able to. So this is how, and that would disrupt sleep even more or even further. See, A leads to B, but always think how B leads to A. Set causality loops. That's why we have stability loop and reinforcing loop. The investment fraction is equivalent to fertility. The greater the fraction of the output, fraction of its circle. That's why you need capital with longer lifetime. Okay, okay. I don't know why, but I'm like my chest feels heavy. Huh. If this system has the same structure as the population system, it must have the same repertoire of behaviors over recent history. Remain stronger than it's okay. So if something persists, it's only persists if the reinforcing growth loops remain stronger than its balancing loop. Yeah, I need to go and pee once again. I will say, okay, Varik, why are you going again for the pee? And the answer is simple. I'm drinking a lot of water because I have to speak a lot, and I'm not used to this much drinking. I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. The investment fraction, rather than a consumed. So now, let's just start. I'm just gonna do a quick reading session for about half an hour, and then I'm gonna discuss what I read. Okay. Hmm. Okay, is it even working? That's good. So you can see just 10 year of lifetime could actually make a, like, if you have a capital stock, and what they're doing is like a basic analysis, and what they did find out is like, you know if you have a 10 year less 10 year of lifetime for a stock, that means like, yeah, you need 2 decades. You need the stock to persist for 2 decades. And the difference between 20 years and 5 years is astronomical in the next 50 years. I can see that too. Reproduction. That means they can replicate. Aha. Delay. Now, delays are really impressive. I just now wanted to know more about this. Yes. This talk. If the sales increases non-linearly, then the demand for inventories of cars increases non-linearly. That means to stabilize it to make the stock not exhaust, you would need to increase delivery non-linearly, and that in itself is one another system. That in itself is one another system. Public demand and production are two different entirely systems, but we are not actually looking at them. What we are trying to do here is like we are just focusing on inventories of cars on the lot. This is a lot simplified version of how system interacts. What the sale? I'm reading. Ah, so when there's a perceived. Oh, god damn it, delays. Oh my fucking lord. Okay. Oh my gosh. Delays in itself creates catastrophe. Damn. So she decreases. Ah, she just doesn't know what her consumer, and then oscillation. Ah, man, that's kind of real. That's really, really kind of real. It's uncertainty creates more. She can just. Yeah, so what Donella is trying to do here is like, okay, I should not speak for now. Let's just read it and understand it by myself first. Gotta go to washroom again. Damn. I do not remember what was renewable and non-renewable was. I think. Oh, it's good. I guess it's ending, huh? Mm. You see, I'll be back in a minute after taking some pee, honestly. Uh, Yeah, yeah, I got it, buddy. I'll be back in a minute, guys, from being, yeah, so I'm back. 2 minute break, I guess. So now here's actually a really, really crazy part is delays. And man, it's gonna take a lot of time to explain. I'm kind of tired, but I have to explain it. Oh, here's the thing. Complex systems has a lot of delays. Like a really lot of delays. Damn, if I get any social feedback, then sustaining energy for that would be a lot easier. But I'm not getting any social feedback for what I'm doing here. So, like, sustaining this kind of behavior is kind of hard, honestly, without any social feedback. Trust me, I mean, like, if there was some humans talking to me and asking me questions and what to say, it becomes a lot easier to explain because, there's continuity and there's like brain allocates more energy, but right now it's not allocating any energy because it knows that no one's listening. Yeah. I think I should stretch a little. Oh, oh, feels good. Oh, oh, oh. Mm, I do have some water. So we have delay. So I think I should actually speak something like this because I feel kind of tired to speak loudly. Honestly, yeah, I should kind of like keep that in mind to speak not that energetically from next like from tomorrow or something because it just takes a lot of energy to speak in a high energetic tone. Right. So let me just come even closer to my mic, like so that you can just hear me without actually have to go through all of that. So there you go. If you have delays, right? So what delays does is that you have something. So delays like I'm trying to maintain a stock, right? And here's like Donella does it in a really really beautiful way, which is kind of impressive if you really look at it from my eyesight. Let me just scroll up a little. So it's here. Like yeah, this is the main crux of the entire thing, right? So it's like how you have inventories in a car, right? So what Donella pretty much explains is like how delays kind of fuck you over. That's all she kind of like explains. And that in itself is like a revolutionary insight, because imagine you have anything in the stock. You have neurons to money to like anything in the stock, right? Right now, let's say we have cars, right? So when it comes to cars, you and I both know there's an inflow and there's an outflow. So for example, we've got an inflow, and then for example, we've got an outflow. Nothing crazy, right? So it's always like a lovey-dovey, I suppose. Okay, why are we focusing so much into getting this straight? I don't know. So we have like an inflow and then we have like an outflow, right? So this is car, right? And there's something that comes in. So there's like you have inventory from stocks. For example, let me just draw something like this. All right. So you have like this is like the sales. So you have sales. Okay, my gosh. You have sales. Canon lost. Yeah, you have sales. It just doesn't look that good, actually, guys. Right? I just don't want it to be this way. Yeah. Well, we kind of like experienced it. Yeah, let's just go with this. Kind of have sales, right? And let's just decrease the size of the test to small. You kind of have sales here, right? Here, and then you have like you have production, and the company that actually produces this reduces. So this is like the production that you get from the company. So now, like let's say the sales increase. Now this is very interesting. I want to draw, so let's draw. So let's say you have a graph, right? Control Z, and you have a graph. So sales are increasing, right? So once the sale increase, you have to increase the, you have to increase the production, or the, like, yeah, what did Donella call it? Deliveries. Yeah, not production, deliveries, because you are delivering. So I think Donella has a right word for it, which is like Control Z. Deliveries. Whatever the spelling is. Deliveries, right? So you have to increase the deliveries. So now, like, once the sales continuously keep on increase, you have to continuously keep on increasing the deliveries, right? But here's the thing: once the sale decrease, you have to decrease the deliveries. Once the sale increase, you have to increase it proportionally. And then the thing you have to predict, I have to predict, because if let's say sales increases, let's say if the sales increase, then the production, like, then the deliveries, I need to predict that the sale would increase, so that I need to increase the delivery beforehand, so that when the customer comes to the inventory or the shop, they buys the stuff. So now here's when the weird thing starts to happen, right? When you are actually predicting. So this is the graph for our sales, right? And this is the graph for our Control Shift Z. Actually, I did a mistake. Okay, I cannot shift it. I have to correct it by themselves, by it then, I guess. Deliveries. Right. So we have that. Right. So now if the sales constantly keep on rising, we have to predict, okay, the sale is going to rise, so we are going to increase the inventory, right? Beforehand. This is our deliveries, right? So due to delivery, we are going to increase the deliveries that we have, so that we can increase the inventory. Here's our inventory, right? So we need to increase our inventory because we think that sales are going to increase, so that we would increase deliveries. So it's like we predict. Now here's, she designed a really interesting system, which is like this. So like when there's a discrepancy between what we want, so there's a discrepancy or a gap, and then we kind of like this, but then there's a sale, there's a increase in sale, like she says here, like in a perceived sale. So we perceive that how is the sales going to go, perceived sales, then that's going to create a discrepancy, and then we're going to change, and perceived sales also actually goes back to here. So we now have a clear system to actually how this function, right? I got disturbed by my mate for a sec there, but yeah. So now we have the simple system, right? You can see how it's emerging. But then again, you increase the deliveries because you want to create increase the inventory because the sales were rising, but the sales fall short. Now you're fucked because you increase the deliveries, and once again, uh, Control Shift Z actually. Where's the eraser? All right, eraser is kind of awesome here. So let's say there was constant amount of deliveries that were coming. So sales that were coming. So sales increased. You had a constant delivery, sales increased. So you predicted the sales will keep on increasing. So you increase the delivery. But then you realize that the sales decreased a little. So now you have a lot of stuff. So you have to actually cut on because since sales is decreasing, you already have a lot of deliveries. Because of that, you have already a lot of stuff in inventory. You also decreases. You also decrease the delivery, which creates a sharp flow because the sales let's say are constantly getting up. So that's kind of like okay, then you realize okay maybe it's gonna increase again. So you increase the production, but then again the sales fall hard, and now the sales fall hard. You actually had to decrease a lot of that, but now the sales rise, and now you predict the sales is gonna keep on increasing. So you increase it once again, and that's how oscillation happens. But the thing is was like the thing with Donella is that I think she like it goes on like this. It can never remain stable. It can never remain stable because you're always predicting and the sales is never stable. So it's like, but the thing is there's delays, right? You're always reacting to this. For example, you're always reacting to this. That means if let's say the sales have a graph like this which goes on like this, right? Like slight up and down. This thing up here would always have a big oscillation. The sales doesn't have oscillations. The sale is just like slightly up and down, up, slightly down, slightly up, slightly stable, slightly up, then again stable, slightly down, and something like that. But you are predicting, and this is what causes as oscillation here. This is the main problem. Now you start to see what I'm trying to say, right? So this is like how this is happening. All right. So this is like the entire thing, which is Danella, and Danella explains it here, right, in a very beautiful way. That is like the part of the problem is the Kata is reacting too early, but no. Here's the thing. You can see the system thinkers are actually no. Where's was the line where she explained the entire stuff? Oh, it was here. Right here she wrote. One of the central insights. No, this is not what she wrote. So many factors. No, where was she when she wrote the entire explanation? And this is what we call delay, right? So delay is you're not able to react as fast as how the system is changing. So you have these oscillation because you constantly because information is the key. Information. Okay, that doesn't look like information at all, but you see what I'm trying to say. The more the delay that you have in information, the more the stock is gonna be unstable. Pardon. Second, there's a response delay. So first of all, there are two delays. Delays like, when you didn't had any delay, it was just as simple. If the price increase, you increase it, right? But once you have delays and once the price, not price, the sales increase, you have catastrophe, right? Catastrophe that happens. And it doesn't have this sharp edges. It's more like, it's more like this. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. It's more like this than what I created, like a heartbeat or something. So you should see that it's more on curvy side. It's not that as like suddenly increase a lot, suddenly decrease. No, it's just like this. So you see what I'm saying? This is not the perfect illustration, but kind of does the job. This is the perfect illustration. Even if it's clear that all it needs to be, don't try to make up the whole. There's just been a signal, or rather, she makes up a shortfall. The system still consists of just two balancing a loop. Or cannot have timely information in which physical delays prevent her action from immediate effects. If her actions had immediate effects, then it would not be that hard. But the delays are causing her to, likely to oscillate. Didn't highlight this stuff. Oscillation are intolerable, says part of the problem is here. And the more you actually kind of like the thing is when you try to see in terms of long term, so when you actually, so what you're doing when you're predicting, right? When let's say this is like the sales once again, like this is like the sales up and down going like, yeah. So when you are actually take a short data, to predict, what happens is that more oscillation happen. Control Z, control Z, control Z. So when you have prediction, so I made a prediction with a short amount of data here. So that creates more oscillation, right? Because like you can see the sales are not gonna be like, one day it's gonna like be too much, one day it's gonna be too down. That's not how sale functions, right? It's gonna pretty much remain stable throughout the year, and it's gonna increase or decrease yearly, right? So in one year you had like a slight increase. So for example, it was going like this, something like that. This is what happened to the company throughout the year. Like sales kept on increasing slightly, and by the end of the 10 years, if I were to simplify, it would be somewhere like this. Like sales increased a lot, right, in the last 10 years, or it decreased a lot. But it's not going to be like, it's not going to be like one day next morning you wake up and the sale is just zero, right? It decreases slowly, it increases slowly. But what happens when you actually take short amount of data, like a really short amount of data, you predict, like, let's say, you control Z, and this is like a, rather than this is like a 1 month data we have here, and you just take 2 days to predict. So what's going to happen once you actually start to do that, you would actually have to constantly increase or decrease the, like the deliveries. And because of that, more oscillation happens because you're making more prediction and you're changing more. So you think, okay, there's a slight increase. So you think, oh, I need to add more deliveries. So just because there's a slight increase, what you do, you add more deliveries, right? And then there's a slight decrease. You're like, oh no, this is falling. So you cancel the deliveries. And then there's like slight increase. You're like, oh, let's add. And there's like a slight decrease that happens, and like, let's remove. So what happens? The oscillation gets worse and worse because you're reacting to very short amount of data. Like over the month, if this is what it is, that means like you could, if you had an inventory something like this, nothing would have happened. But you constantly changing the inventory because you're constantly reacting to shorter amount of data set. That's all you're doing. So sometimes reacting too fast leads to a lot of problem. You need to know that. This is what happens when you react slowly. Nothing much happens. Just slightly some days when you have less amount of inventory. Yeah. How long they are, whether they are a dealer. A big picture one stores unsold automobiles in America. production didn't need food. The thermos never ran out of oil. And all the company. Okay, actually, now I need to start. I've done my own thinking. I was trying to think because here's the best part about the delays that I actually ended up thinking is like how literally everything has a delay, right? I mean, like in complex systems, delays are inevitable, like really, really inevitable. Because here's the thing, like I started to wake up, like the sleep example I gave. I changed my sleep cycle, right? So I wake up at 9 at the start. Like okay, I used to wake up at 10, like 9 to 10 actually, right? So then I start waking up at 7, right? So like 7 to like 8, and that 1 hour of difference, just 1 hour earlier, my mom started to make breakfast early because she used to predict that I'm gonna wake up. So it's like she's like here, she used to break, like if you were to bring this up in a time, like if you have, here's we have time and here's we have days, right? So I mean, I'm not the mathematics guy, but let's say she used to create breakfast at 9 or 10, but then she realized that I wake up earlier, so she started making breakfast earlier, right? And then but then again I waked up for 1 day, and after that I start waking up at 9 and again because it takes a lot of time for the sleep cycle, so she can make the shift, like yeah, she started making it, but sorry, she'd still made it earlier, right? But then she realized she still made it earlier, right, for time, but then she realized I'm not waking up, so she started making it later. But the day she made it later, I woke up early, so now we have a desync, right? And then she made early again, but I wake up late, right? So it's like because of that, it's like oscillations, not too many oscillations because it's just 1 hour time. So it's like you can see like slight oscillations that are happening again and again, right? So you have these oscillations that happens, and over time she stabilized and she started making early, right? And the same happens with the maid, right? At the when I used to wake up late, she used to come really late to clean the house. But then I wake up early, then she can actually come earlier to clean the house, like clean the room, not the house, right? But then I actually wake up too early because since I'm waking up at 6 or something, I'm already free for the breakfast really early. Then I'm studying, so now she once again comes back later. So it's like a, if you were to do a simple gap, it's like she used to come earlier, later, earlier, later, earlier, now later, right? So that's how it stabilizes. So how one information delay causes delays in behavior and changes in behavior of other systems, right? But it doesn't only limit itself to economies. It's like happening everywhere. Like a small delay in your activity causes a massive delays in someone else's. And not delay. I mean, delay here is just a way to show like how it's happening. Delay here is just a way to show the how my changes in timing creates a delays and changes in their behavior and their timing over time. And yeah, but where else the delay appears? Actually, I'm not able to think more of it. The more examples that I have, the harder it will stick in my prefrontal cortex over time. Okay, thanks for the NFT, but I'm not really that interested in NFT. So let's leave the conversation, right? Yeah. Okay, actually, you know what? Let's just take it here. Let's just take it. Right. So ChatGPT, I want to know like could you give me more example on how these delays function? Like like I was reading book like Thinking in Systems by Donella, and I just wanted to know like how does these delays functions? Like you have delays in economy, you have delays in biology, you have delays everywhere. Could you give me more concrete examples of this idea of delay and what exactly delay is? Like in feedback loops and in balancing loops. Like yeah, because she gave an example through an inventory of a factory and how there's a delay in information as to what the consumer is gonna do. So is the sales are gonna rise or not? And on the basis of that, the person in charge would actually um, called the delivery people or the production system to actually increase or decrease the production. And the thing is, like, the less the data you have, like, means you're making prediction just from a data from 2 days, what is going to cost more instability, right? Like more oscillations. But if you're actually have larger set of data and when you call, it's going to cost less instability or something like that, right? So that we have, and I also kind of like try to model out like how, like, my waking up early timing causes like shifts in other people's nervous system and changes their behavior, and how that change in behavior happens to have a delay. So if I woke up early tomorrow morning, it's not like my mom's just going to immediately make breakfast. She's going to change her baseline over the years, not over the years, just for if I just wake up early for 1 or 2 weeks, now she's getting used to it and it takes a delay. too hard to get used to it and start cooking breakfast early. This is what I realized. Like I like yeah. So these delays that happens, that means other people takes time to shift to you or to your, like, baseline. So it's like, and I want to know if, like, everywhere, like yeah, the more about delays, the more asymmetric information that you can give, that allows me to understand catastrophically well what delays are and how they applies to a lot of concepts and a lot of reality and a lot of functions and a lot of systems. He gives an example of a YouTube, which in itself is kind of good. So, for example, algorithm. Let me show you something. Has delays, right? And so, if I open up my Creator Studio, right, I have, like, So here's my content, and if I were to go and show you the live stuff, this is my fourth stream, as you guys can pretty much see from here, right? So this is my fourth stream, and yeah, the views are pretty much nothing, right? So, like, they're pretty much zero, right? So yeah, but then again, if I open up another YouTube studio of my synthetic, right, and this may ask me to switch account. Oh, it doesn't, right? And if I come here, and if I told you, like, if I go to analytics, and if I go to analytics, let's just not show you the stuff. Like, I got 16 views, right? Watch time 0. 0.8 hours, subscribers none, and this is, like, in real time how my views are increasing and decreasing, and you know stuff like that. But I mean, in this channel, I just uploaded one video and I got 6 views. But if I really go to content, it give me 297, and if I go to content here, you'll see impression 10 impressions and 13 views from my different accounts, 2 or 3 accounts, right? Yeah, so it's like, or in fact 4 or 5 accounts, but yeah, not 4 or 5 accounts, it's just me clicking. I don't know how this is 13 because I just watched the same video from 3 different accounts, from one from my brother, from one from my synthetic, and one from my main channel. So I guess I give 3 views, but I don't. So yeah, 10 impression, 10 views. I don't know how that functions. But then you have 297 impressions and 6 views, 1%, 0.7 click rate. So now you'll say, okay, Varik, why is it that this channel with only one YouTube video has got more impression? That means YouTube recommended it more compared to this. And this is the best part. The impression means, like, here's the best part. YouTube recommended this because YouTube can qualify or quantify what exactly coding and system thinking, and not system thinking, sorry, what exactly coding means, what exactly Python means. So it knows to whom it needs to show the video to. See what I'm saying? And it learns, because YouTube is all about, it's an algorithm that learns that who watches your content, right? But this channel, it's almost catastrophically impossible for the YouTube to know to whom to recommend. Literally, that's how it is. So there's a delay. So you may start thinking that the channel is not working out, that you suck at YouTube, but it's just that algorithm takes time to learn to whom to show the content to. That's all there is to. Literally, right? So yeah. So if I do this for a year, only then the algorithm would have pretty definite idea about who loves my content, who doesn't. That's why you see. Let me show you something. That's why if you just go to normal YouTube, and let me just do something else before I go to YouTube. Yeah, youtube.com. If I go to youtube.com, and here's the best part. Let me just go to anything that okay, what was his name? Maybe history. Yeah, I was doing research on Steve Harvey and sleep and how, because there's this guy who called 6 hours of sleep is trash, and I was seeing his life and different things. Like, yeah, this guy, like any YouTuber. If I were to take any YouTuber, let's just take this guy. All right. Now, yeah. So if you go to his channel, right, like any even channel, the thing is like he wasn't getting any views at the start. Like he's told, like because I've been watching this guy from my different account for a long time, and this guy's really good, right? But that's the thing. If you go about a year ago, his old videos still gets views and still get, because YouTube learns over time, so it re-recommends the old video. That's literally how YouTube functions. YouTube doesn't bias or anything. Like if you go to, like, not 2 years ago, 2 years ago he was kind of trash. Like after at this point, like so at this point he starts to actually improve impressively well. So it's like if the video is really good, even if it's old, even if it's really really old, as you can see 2 years ago he wasn't really that good, YouTube recommends it. YouTube literally recommended. Right. So if it's good, and even if it's old, because at some point at the start YouTube doesn't know who the fuck it needs to show the content to. At the start it never knows. Like at the start his content would also suck, I guess. But over time YouTube do start to realize to whom to show the content to, and then it take years, if not, okay, years is an exaggeration, about 2 or 3 months, because it gets learned over and over data. It shows like more and more people to show, like it knows, like it gathers data, okay, who actually wants the stuff and who actually doesn't watch the stuff, right? So the more the data it gets, the more it knows who kind of people. So if you are someone who's been doing YouTube for 10 years, even if your content sucks, right, you're still going to get more views because YouTube knows who actually watches your content. That's it, right? That's kind of insane. Yeah. So this is what a basic analysis of YouTube is. This is what we call delay, but a lot of people quit because they think that, okay, maybe they suck at the content, or maybe they suck at the production, because it's just there's a delay and you have to wait for it. But yeah, delays are destabilizing. Same happens with the exercising. You start exercising, no muscle for 1 week, no muscle for 2 week, no muscle for 3 weeks, and then suddenly you have a slight bump, and you're like, "What the fuck happens?" Like, yeah, because biological like feedback delay is long, right? Because like body is gathering evidence. It's like is this stress is like regular? So shall I actually invest energy to adapt to this stress, or is this stress is like just new? So you see, I'm starting to speak a lot on streams, right? And this haven't been and that happened in the past. So like over time your body starts to like analyze or learn that and now I'm not actually speaking really fast or really loud, because what I did realize, it's better to speak slowly because you have to speak for a lot of time by yourself and there's no one in the chat. So what I am realizing is that if I, let's say, if I okay, where is the, yeah, yeah, it is working pretty well in the background, yeah. So what am I realizing is that I have to actually conserve energy, right? This is a delay. You do not know this until you burn enough energy while speaking that, oh, this kind of like sucks on the neck, right? Especially when you are not the type of person to speak a lot. And now we've integrated another concept, guys, because like this is our concept number 2, delay. Right, so we have integrating another. We haven't integrated into everything, but as you can see, this is how biology functions too, like in systems. Like you, when it comes to exercise, when it comes to learning too, when you're learning mathematics or a chapter at the start you suck, the body's still adapting to it, it takes time, there's a delay, but over time you become you rock at it, right? The deeper thing you seem to be noticing, the change in another person is like, yeah, oh, there's another thing I noticed with ChatGPT phrased better, which is like change in other people's nervous system changes their behavior. So, for example, if my wake up time changes their perception and inputs, which changes their nervous system, it changes their behavior. Right. So if your environment, you're a product of your environment. So if my brother or if my dad really starts to wake up at 6 a.m. and if someone needs to be there to cook the food, then my mother would also start to wake up at 6 a.m. See what I'm trying to say here? Like yeah, so like yeah, we humans have like different systems have different delays. Like we have human brain neural adaptation take days to years. Oh my gosh, right? So it's like yeah, sometimes when it comes to like studying 8 hours a day, what you've seen like a lot of people actually like this is what I'm trying to achieve, and I think I reach about 4 hours a day, not 8 hours a day. Yes. So it takes about days to years to achieve that, right? And I've seen like it's biologically possible. I've already tested that, but like in education system, like I've like the concentrated deep studying that you do flawlessly takes days to years. When it comes to muscle, like the main thing is that it takes adaptation times like protein synthesis and try to build muscle. It takes weeks. That means at least 2 weeks. A relationship like trust, like trust develops over months to years, not just like yeah, which is kind of true. Like and there's delay in developing trust even if you're a perfect person with someone, as that so you start with something that accidentally happened to break their trust, then like yeah, it doesn't accumulate, which have taken like yeah. So you have economy, which is like a contra explanation month. We have culture. Now culture takes decades to form, if not centuries. Yep. Culture is evolution. Well, evolution takes delays are catastrophic. In when it comes to evolution, oh now it's actually adding in evolution delays are fucking high because each time there's a slight mutation, right? Mutation. So there's replication. If you know evolution is simply replication, mutation, and natural selection. You replicate and mutation happens, right? Because of like because there's no such thing as perfect replication. Because of mutation, what happens? Nature selects. So over time, this mutation adds up, right? But you do not know if these mutations are good for the survival or for the bad. And finally, when the nature selects that this survives or not, only then you would have final feedback on knowing, okay, is this the stock that I was accumulating was worth accumulating or not? And if it's not, your species die. If it was, your species persists. Delays are a lot bigger, and because of this big delays, you have like a lot of like problems. One of the biggest mistakes humans make, I see, is that like they don't see they see a result and they're like nothing is happening. But here, if you go once again, I will give my YouTube channel example because that is the most current thing to me and like the most obvious thing to me is like right now you may think, okay, there's nothing happening, right? You're going live and nothing's happening. Like you're doing it for 4 days and nothing's happening. No views, literally no views. But here's the thing: I'm developing the ability to speak for hours. I'm developing the ability to study in the morning in front of camera. My sleep isn't the perfect when I'm recording these first 3 videos, so my sleep is getting better, which is going to improve my output. I'm understanding algorithms. It's becoming a second nature to actually stream in the morning. At the start, it was kind of like embarrassing and I was laughing unnecessarily because I was kind of like anxious or something. But now it's not anxious. But yeah, none of my videos had live streamers in it. So like it would take some time to get used to that when that happens. So it's like it's becoming a norm for me. It's becoming a norm for me. Right, so that is neural adaptation. I'm actually thinking and speaking about the things that I'm reading. So now I have to explain what I'm reading. That means I'm actually using more energy and understanding to, yeah, man, that's also happening. Child learning a language, a forest growing, a relationship building trust, a YouTube channel finding an audio, a brain rewiring itself. You know, the accumulation, like, the invisible adaptation, like, the accumulation was happening for a long time. That means state change long before the output change. Yeah, that means it takes a lot of time to, yeah. So since I mean, like for example, I had a girlfriend, right? And I'm not actually talking to her, not because like any fight or because of the sleep, like I told at the start. So now what happens is like it's a trust, right? So it's like if let's say if let's say she forced me to actually stay wake up at night, which I think she's never gonna do, but if let's say she does that, she's breaking my trust. So the trust we accumulated over time, it's like a stock and it's decaying because she's forcing and she's like yeah. So and the same can happen for her too. Yeah. So that same goes for the parents. Like each time when you make a mistake and your parent scolds you, there's a neural status updates over time, and you accumulate that these people are dangerous. Not specifically dangerous, quote unquote. These people do not understand me. They do not get me. They're threatening if I tell them my secret. So that accumulates over time. It's not like one day a child comes and you'll say, okay, kids, don't do that. I don't like you for that. It's not like after one time it's gonna just completely change its behavior and gonna ghost its parents. Over time, if the parents beats the child, are angry and toxic to the child understands that these people are not safe, and only then it kind of like yeah. That's what happens in the friends all the time. Sometimes your friends fuck up, right? Sometimes they kind of like make mistakes that kind of like boils you over, but they do not do it all the time. They're doing good stuff too, and that's why good stuff accumulates more than the bad stuff. But when bad stuff is more, then quit the relationship or the friendship or whatever that you have. Huh. Okay, I really, really need to drink some water. I'm gonna go downstairs and come up with a water bottle too. So I'll be back in a minute. So hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm back and I know I've been AFK'd for a long time. Let's just check that out. How long have we been AFKing? And let's just open my platform, Activity Watch. And there's something I did realize. Okay. I have been AFK for about I saw I went AFK till 30. I've been AFK for about you can see it's like 12:20 starts here, or does it start here? It's 12:20. If it's 12:20, I mean it's 12:25. Not 12, 11:25. What the fuck am I saying, man? I think okay, it's 11:25 or something like that, right? Or like 11:20 or something. I've been AFKing for about 30 minutes, right? Yeah. So half an hour of break. I mean, okay, oh, 31 minutes. It shows here, right? So half an hour of break or something. But now you'll say, okay, what was I doing? First of all, I was doing nothing. I mean, I went downstairs and I just sat on the couch and started thinking about the mic that I had to buy. My plan was to come in 5 minutes, but then I started watching this video. And what I did realize, because this video is also going to teach us about delay, so I came with more information and more understanding on delay. Paradoxically, even though I did nothing related to that, okay, let me give you an example of delay that would actually make you truly realize how catastrophically good it is to have a good amount of information. For example, do you remember this woman, the woman that was predicting the stock? Like, here's the best part about the stock. Let me just check. Everything is all right, right? Because I just continued in a hurry moment. Audio capture, video capture, only face, like bright. Yeah, everything is okay. So and is my quality of the stream is excellent. Quality is excellent. Live stream has been going on. Yep, everything seems to be mm, all right. So yeah. So here's the thing. I've like this woman is trying to predict how's the stock's gonna like how's the market is gonna behave and how the sales is gonna rise or decrease. And on the basis of that prediction, she's trying to change the like I showed you, right? She's trying to change the delivery, and that causes real problems in inventory, right? She's trying to determine sales, and on the basis of sales, she's trying to predict, like, there's like a prediction here that she's constantly trying to make. Our little poor girl, she's constantly trying to make prediction. On the basis of that, she's kind of like trying to deliver, and this is what change. And because of those changes in delivery, changes the like the stocks make the stock oscillate a lot, right? And this is what I did realize. The reason all of this is happening is because information delay, right? She's never gonna know exactly when another buyer is going to come, exactly when the company's like the profit is going to increase or decrease, or when the sales are going to rise, or what kind of resume that the company is going through. Let's say maybe they're actually investing on illustrations, maybe they're investing on marketing, maybe they're investing on like social media marketing, like online content marketing or content creation, maybe they're investing in like roadside marketing where you have these banners or posters or something. So no matter what they're investing on, you would never know actually what's going to cause the rise in the sales, because you cannot just go to every human and tag, but you do know this the sales of the thing would gonna go higher. So you're using that to predict, and then you're changing your actions on the basis of like that. So you change delivery, and exactly that's what you do. Like, for example, I bought this mic, right? And the biggest problem is that when you change your actions, when you make a prediction, you change, there's always a delay. Delay is what causes the problem. For example, let me give you a very simplified answer. I had this mic. Before this mic, where is it? If you can see, I mean, I'll show it to you. I cannot pull it here because, okay, there's a wire. All right. So this was my old mic, like this right here, the small one, right? It's not really that expensive, but it's kinda is like no, like not cheap, right? So this was my old mic, a really old mic that I bought a long time ago, right? About like yes, just talk on people on games and things. Think this is my new mic, right? And the thing that I realized, the problem with these wired mics is that they are good. This is a condenser mic. The condenser mic is something that grabs all the noise from the surroundings, so you have to really close to the mic to actually. And this is a dynamic mic that actually doesn't actually observes all the noise. It just catches my voice. It's dynamic. It noise cancellation, you can say, right? So this is what the difference between both of them technically is. So now you'll say, okay, why am I talking about mic? The thing is, I didn't knew that in the past that the mic that I'm using is a condenser one, and the mic that I bought is like a dynamic one, right? So because if I would have known that from the start, I would have never bought the condenser mic for recording. Because like thing is, I could have used that mic too. Like I have the stand of that mic here. Like if you can see, so I could have easily used that mic to record the audio, but then I realized, okay, you cannot do that because you need you need a you need a dynamic mic because that mic just gathers a lot of trash information. So I bought a new one. I didn't knew that. I didn't knew that. So I bought a new one. That means I reinvested my capital, right? And then I realized, okay, the problem with the problem with a dynamic mic is that it's kind of like a stand. So you can't take it anywhere in the house. It's connected through a wire to your laptop. So it's not wireless. So let's say I want to shoot. I want to put a camera there and I want to sit here. Now I can't do that. I literally cannot do that. And I realized that the easiest way of solving all of this money purchase and things like that would have been to just my like this mic that you get here like look at my screen if you want to know, like, which is called like Levicon, or I don't know exactly the pronunciation. Actually, I'm not even close to the Boya mics, right? So we have Boya mic, right? So if I were to go to images, and if I were to show you the mic, so this is the mic, right? These mics cost about, I don't know, about the same price as this one, a slightly expensive if you go for the high quality, right? But the thing with them is like you could apply them to your neck like this bad boy here. Where's the image? What the hell? Wait. On t-shirt, like, yeah, whatever. Just show me on the t-shirt. Yeah, here. So you could just apply the mic here on your t-shirt or something. Like you could just apply it there, like you can see in the images like this. And they are wireless and they have a pretty decent, like, distance. So and they have a pretty decent noise cancellation, and they're slightly expensive than this mic though. Like slightly, just about a 10-20% increase in the, like, yeah, she's using a wired one, which is kind of stupid. Maybe she's poor, but we're not gonna judge her. She's definitely not poor, I guess. But yeah. So so that's what she like. But these mics are far much better. Like then, and I would have gone for the double price because the thing is, like, they just does everything. You can record a podcast. You can do, like, of course, you need these mics to look in the podcast because that's what gives it a professional look. If I were to say, right, that's why if you are really into hardcore podcasts, you can actually use these kind of stuff, right? But for someone like me who isn't into podcasts and just want their voice to get recorded like this, all they had to do is buy that one mic, and all of this investment, like this mic and this mic, is probably, both of these mic combined, probably worth more than that mic. And the thing is, I didn't have the information, so my prediction was wrong. So there was a delay because Amazon in itself takes a lot of time for the delivery, and there's a delay in accumulation of information. So you have to go online, right? And you have to go on YouTube and search for mic. And the problem is there's justification bias online. So for example, if you bought a trash mic, let's say, not a trash, just an average mic, you justify that it's good. And that's what happens to a lot of YouTubers. So you go online, you do the research, you find out some people are just bullshitting, and only some people actually know what's going behind the hood. So that kind of a noise to like information ratio takes delays. It takes time to actually come to the correct information. It takes data, but I didn't actually did that. I did the reverse. I just bought the mic first that come on the appear on Amazon, and then I just thought that, oh, this would work out without thinking much. Right, which caused more delay for me to actually get what I wanted. And yeah, it just down spiral. This is what delays are specifically: information delays, and then there's consequences that you have to face because of those delay in information. And information did arrive, but now, like, information did generally arrive, but now it's already too late. I already bought 2 fucking mics that are like, one I don't even use, which is just there, and my brother uses it sometimes, like rarely when he have these meetings online, very rarely, on times when there's a lot of rain and something, and that you can't go outside. So that's like a once in a couple months or something, right? So besides that, it's a useless purchase. So, and this one is good too. I'm gonna keep on using this one for my But and as for the new one, but then again, so I want to create YouTube content, and for that YouTube content, I need that wireless mics, right? So yeah. So this is what happens, and this is not just this. For example, you go to gym, and then you realize your body needs proteins. I've been going to gym, so your body needs protein for recovery. Right. So here's the thing: at the start, you do not know that. So you go to gym, you do not take a diet, and diet is the most fundamental part. If your body doesn't have the protein, it doesn't matter how hard you train, it needs that protein, it needs that calorie. Because I was supposed to be a thin, and I gained about 4 kgs of weight after going to gym because I didn't want it, and I'll keep on improving on that. But that's another delay. I didn't know at the start that my diet needs to reach 3,000 calories. My diet was about 1,900 to 2,100 calories. So I had to increase that. And then I had to improve the sleep. Now sleep is currently fucked, like I told you. So that also has its own delay of fixing. You're seeing how much delay there is. Like, it takes weeks, if not months, to actually accumulate something good. Because majority of the time, you're dominated by fucking delays. Like, majority of the time, my friend, you're just dominated by delays. And it's not like you do not like you're not trying your best, but it's like sleep schedule takes a lot of time because circadian rhythms takes a lot of time to change. Gym also changed my circadian rhythms. Then there's environment. So for example, if you're poor, the thing is you would have to like you would need money for 3000 3000 calorie, or you would need money for the mic. I'm not poor, thank goodness, so I can have the mic, right? But then again, there's delays. But I'm not rich too. I cannot just go around and buy all the fucking mics that I want to just test out which one is good. So I'm not rich, man. So that's another thing. And how sometimes, there's consequences are irreversible. Let's suppose I was a poor person. It takes about me 3 months of saving to get a mic, or 4 months or 5 months or something. Then it's irreversible. I made a mistake I cannot undo because I bought the thing because I didn't have the information. And now it would take me 3 or 5 months to actually fix that problem. That's delay for you. And delay fucks you over, for real. It fucks you over, right? So now you're starting to understand, it's not just the inflow and outflow, it's inflow, outflow, and delay. Right. This is what people don't get. Delay is in gym. Let's say, for example, you're going to gym and then you realize you're not doing compounding exercise. You're doing isolated exercise. So difference between compounding exercise and isolating ones, it's like compounding exercise target different sorts of muscle groups simultaneously, where isolated exercise doesn't target different sort of muscle group. So what happens when you do a dumbbell curl, it just targets like two muscles or something. But when you do like a Romanian deadlift, or when you do like a lat pull down, or what do you call it, like something like that, these are the exercises that actually like pull-ups, squats, and push-ups. These are the ones that actually targets a lot of muscles. So they are good for the body. You multiple simultaneously targets a lot of muscles, which gives better hypertrophy. Hypertrophy is like what it actually is. Like hypertrophy means like muscle gain. How much muscle gains do you get, right? So it gives you a good amount of hypertrophy. That means you do minimum exercise for the maximum amount of muscle gain. So you gain muscles faster while doing less exercise, and then you add good amount of sleep. You do need good amount of sleep. In my sleep have been fucked, which is fucking bullshit right now. I need to fix that, like I told you. But then you need diet. Good diet, you need protein there. You cannot just so, and then you need more calories if you're a thin person, because your body doesn't have stored fats to actually do the exercise, because it fucking needs energy. So you need that, and then you need rest. Sometimes you cannot overtrain yourself, and this kind of information allows you to continuously gain muscles, right? And this is information. Delays in information fucks you over. If you do not get the information, so that's why you're trying. Are you that one person who went to the gym for 1 month and tried and didn't succeeded, and then you thought, oh, gym is not for you, or you're not the exercise? No, you didn't got the right information, and you didn't even understood what was the real problem. Information delays fucks you over. That's what I'm saying. It fucks you over. Oh man. Okay. Yep. Oh. And now I have like two mics. One is from Lock Company and one is from Boya. Like this time I finally did my own research rather than actually trusting Amazon for me and things like that. Oh my god. Like, and reviews. So it's like Lock or Boya. So like the Boya, like the Lock just to pretty much cost the double amount of Boya. But the thing is, like, Boya includes one mic and Lock includes two mics. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with this company right now, because I do not want to necessarily invest in, because it's just going to be me who records. But let's say in future I create an open channel where multiple of my friends and me are talking, which is never gonna happen, never ever. That's when I would need Lock, right? But then again, you were someone who didn't read the research or didn't thought that you were gonna create like a channel of with multiple people. Then yeah, you would actually fuck up once again your capital. So, and then finally for the fourth time you're gonna get the correct mic. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so this is how delays kind of ruin you over. This is how wrong predictions causes delays, because you didn't had enough information to make the right prediction, man. Like, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And now what I'm realizing is, like, I should have bought another monitor. So yeah, I mean, like, I bought this closet or something for my like bathroom. But now that I realize, fuck closet, I could have lived without like a closet. But I need another monitor for streaming. Like, one where the stream is constantly open on my OBS, one for like, and there's delays too. You make mistakes, and mistakes slaps you on the face, and then you realize you fucked you over. And this is the feedback that you need to maintain the stock levels. Without feedback, you're fucked. Without knowing what's happening, you're fucked, my friends. You're fucked. Okay, I've said fuck too many times in this video. I don't know why, because I genuinely did realize it kind of messed it up. But yeah. You fuck it over. Oh yeah. Not much happens when the car dealer shortens your perception delay. Yeah, you need to not short. You just need more data. That's why you increase the perception delay so that you can gather more data. Here's the problem with that is data. Like yeah, having a good amount of data kind of like saves you from a lot of problems. The part of the problem here is that the car dealer has been reacting not too slowly but too quickly. And this is how biology functions too. If I continuously speak on mic for a longer periods of time, if I continuously read, if I continuously stream, over time it takes like delays to actually make the biology adapt. Like you body takes time to adapt to conditions, right? Or circumstances. We have neuroplasticity. We have a lot of things here. So that's another thing. So that's why yeah. But I think there's another problem. Or delays are pervasive in system, and they are strong determinants of behavior. May or may not, depending on the type of delay. And I did realize that delays are kind of good. Now you'll say, okay, how is it good? And I'll say, sometimes, especially in biology, I'm not saying about in markets, or I'm not talking about like buying a phone. Like if you can buy more phone and have more data on it, then you'll obviously know, like and you can obviously make better decisions. So if you have better information there, it's like. But in biology, think I read a book for one day, and my biology adapted catastrophically to it, made up millions of neurons. I adapted to it in a one day. But I'm not gonna do it anymore in my like in the rest of my life. Right, let's say I went to play cricket or went to play basketball just for one day, and body adapted to it really fast. It used a lot of energy. It used everything it could do to actually adapt to it. So now I'm unnecessarily adapted to something I didn't want to get adapted to, and now that energy could have been used somewhere else, and now I'm fucked. Too fast adaptation is a metabolic suicide. I mean, it's like because you adapt too fast, you never stick to one thing. And then if you adapted so fast to one thing, it would become impossible for you to change into something else. That's why we have delays. If you change too fast, like here with her too, like the woman that was making the prediction, if she changes too fast, we realize if she changes slow, the systems became stable. If she have like if she actually responds her action really fast to the delays, like she actually creates this oscillation, this problem that she has to face. That's why sometimes, I'm not saying in all conditions, delays also act as a stabilizer. They are not the enemies. Sometimes, not all the times, right? And more information will tell me how right I am about delays. I'm having a delay about the delay itself. See, the most important delay in the system is the one of the. Or much harder to manage. System, how long they are, whether they're delays in information stream or physical processes. Right now, yeah. I'm loving this. I'm loving streaming. I don't know why. Even though no one watches it, I'm finally get the chance to speak whatever I'm thinking while I'm learning. That some delays can be powerful policy. Lengthening or shortening them can produce major changes in behavior systems. Oh, there's one thing I need to do. Now we were on this topic. I just couldn't get started with it. I've been free of constraint imposed by their son. Never ran out of oil. So these simple models of systems have been able to operate according to their unconstrained internal dynamics. So we could see what those dynamics are. But any real physical entity is always surrounding by and exchanging things with its environment. Yep, environment is God. This is what neuroplasticity itself says. It needs a constant supply of energy and materials and workers and managers and customers. A growing Water, nutrients, and protection from pests. A population needs food during space. It's a human. It needs jobs, health, education, and multitudes of other things. Any constraints? Yeah. How reality puts constraints on you. Constraints are like what you cannot disobey. Is like what you must follow. The laws, right? Okay, ChatGPT. Like Donella in Thinking in Systems talks about constraints, and in physics we have constraints. We have constraints everywhere, right? एक मिनट रुक मैं Like wait a sec, मैं एक मिनट में आता हूँ, right? Okay, my cousin brother just came out of nowhere. But let's get back to stuff. I just told him to come back in an hour or something because, like, yeah. But okay, so so here's the thing, right? ChatGPT, what I want you to tell me is like, okay, there's constraints everywhere, right? And in physics we have constraints, in economics, and I just wanted to know what is the best form of definition for the constraints that you can give me, a simplest one, because I think constraints is like something that you cannot disobey, like there are laws, right? For example, let's say not disobey, for like there's physical laws, right? The physics follows, and like physics tries to map those laws, and there's like those constraints allow certain state transitions to happen and certain state transitions to not happen. That means all state transitions that do happen must follow those constraints, right? So, for example, the rate of falling anything from the sky to the ground must follow the laws of gravity because Earth's mass happen to be certain specific thing, and and it's like that. But what do you think actually constraints are? Because Donella is continuously mentioning that in thinking in system. Constraint structure. Let's strip away. Imagine a chessboard. The piece can move, but not arbitrarily. Yeah, a chess is a perfect example. Move like a knife. Why? Because the rules constrain the straight transition. So you can imagine it's how ChatGPT give a perfect example. If you want to know what constraints are, imagine a chessboard. Right, imagine a chessboard. So anything like you have a chessboard, anything that moves on the chess piece or the board must follow certain sort of rules, and those rules are constraints. A bishop cannot become a knight cannot become a king, king cannot become a queen, and those constraints is what determines behavior of everything within the chessboard. The rules from a one kind of environment that determines what can happen, what cannot happen. Like yeah, so what can happen, what is easy, what is difficult, what is impossible. The pieces are the state, the rules are the constraint matrix. Now apply this to reality. A rock falls. Why? Yeah. Reminds me of like the one incident that happened in the past. Oh, it's a big story though, so not gonna mention it. Like growing up, water and nutrients and protection from pests. So like yeah, going to run into some kind of constraint sooner or later. Any physical growing system is going to run into some kind of constraint sooner or later. And how these constraints shapes the behavior. In chapter 5, whenever we see a growing entity, will constrain it. Ah, but reinforcing loop and balancing loop explodes because no real physical system can grow forever. Damn, an economy maybe. I'm finally seeing it. It's like it's like a growth chart. It's like something like this. It's like ah, how millions of things are interconnected. is now familiar balancing that the more capital stock, the more machines and refinery there are that fall the pie. We are reducing the stock. Actually, I started thinking about a talk. That's why I'm not paying attention to what's on my screen, guys. So I'm sorry for that. I was like thinking about a funnel way of how you can actually funnel um like a system from one system to another, which is an entirely abstract thought, which is not related to what I'm actually doing right now here studying, but which is like initiated by the reading itself. But yeah, how likely it is to end. To make some money by extracting a no more. Gain minus cost. Yeah. So as you go deeper down, the cost of sustaining a system rises exponentially or non-linearly or something like that. So let's say you have a oil or something, so you go deeper and deeper and deeper into the ground. So the cost of like it's this was the cost, and over time it just rises non-linearly. So after this point is like after this point, there's no point in going more because the cost. This is the like the cost is increasing, and because the cost is increasing, you can have profits that are decreasing, right? So after this point, there's no point in continuing because you've lost enough profit that was worth the effort. So now, like if you might profit minus cost, like in which is your income. So income is what you care for. If income decreases too much, then you would stop the process, even if there is technically more oil. So the better thing that you can do is actually create a system that could actually allow you to, like that could actually allow you to keep on extracting oil without much money. But that is not possible. There are constraints. That's why music exploded. That's why people like Billie Eilish exploded. Now you'll say, okay, why did they explode it? Because it's like music is something that everyone likes. It's like there's no person. It's just the taste that differs. Since everyone likes music, it becomes 7 billion. If 7.5 billion plus people listens to music, that means literally every fucking person alive is invested in this economy, from old to young, from just born, like from the kids who's 10 years old to the kids who's like to the adults who's like literally everyone is invested into this economy. I've heard so many old people are obsessing over like movie for songs. So this is like the economy that has the highest number of people in the world. Like I wouldn't say highest number of people, like I think that would be agriculture. But the thing is, you have like 5 billion people involved and everyone has access to the same thing. Here's the thing with agriculture is like you cannot access everyone, but you have a platform called Spotify, and everyone can actually, or YouTube, which is most probably YouTube, right? So everyone can actually access all the music. Like all the 5 billion people are on these platforms, and because they are on these platforms, the rest of the people are. That's why the if you were to look at the graph, they exploded, man. They exploded. That's why Billie Eilish has so much like popularity, man. They fucking exploded. Like yeah, it's like a there is no point of return. I can just keep on drawing more and more and more and more. But you see what I'm saying, right? It's like a lot of people were on YouTube because people liked, and because of that, a lot of people like songs, and because of that, if you had one really, really great song, 5 billion people would listen to it. Reach. The runaway feedback loop is like the reach. If it's good, reach. Reach. Your ability to reach, man, your ability to reach billions of people. That's why YouTube, like, that's why singing is far better than. You can be a dumb fuck, but as long as you have reach, you dominate, man, you dominate. Replicate depletion feedback through operating. You have to actually end the stream. Not because I want to. In fact, I would have actually sustained it for 1 hour more, but because I got my brother downstairs that came for me, and I've also had to get my lunch because I wake up early, right? So it's like 12:50 is the time. So yeah, we can go for 10, 14 minutes more, which is fun. I could assume the resource duplication feedback through operating cost as well. In the case, the ensuring behavior pattern is the same. I'm doing this for an entire year. It will be so fun. Okay, reading books and explaining them. Yeah, and I think over time people would start watching it. So like maybe in a month or two, there would be slight traffic about 10 people or something. If not, I'm streaming code too, so I think there would be some traffic too, and then I can redirect the traffic into here, so which is a good thing, right? And I would be creating YouTube content too right now. Just wait for the mic, man. Just wait for the mic. It would be all fun. The system start out with enough oil in the background deposit to supply the initial scale of operation for 200 years. What? But actually, peaks at about 40 years because of surprising effects of exponential growth in extraction. 5% per year. First 14 years. It just falls back harder. But I still don't get the most part of it. But yeah, we'll do it tomorrow. So hope you guys have fun, and yeah. So let's just, yeah, goodbye for now. And let's meet tomorrow in the coding section, and after that reading, back to reading again. But yeah,